Now let us discuss about these two, the ports, SMB and NetBIOS. What are these ports? What are these services? I should say the left side things are called as services. SSH is a service, DNS is a service, HTTP is a service, SMTP is a service, POP is a service, SMB is a service, NetBIOS is a service. And these services are like some applications will be there, and the application server is somewhere, and that server is listening at this service at which port, that is 20, 21, 23, 22, 53. These are the port numbers. So if someone asks you, yeah, some NetBIOS service, some issues there, means you have to get into some thought process of thinking, okay, this is the port numbers. Okay, this is service, and for that this is the port number. Port number is destination port only we are focusing on. Okay, so what is SMB and what is NetBIOS? Guess you might be seeing a lot of computers like in Windows. You can share some files, correct? Right? How you can share? Just go here, my computer. Okay, go to the downloads or something. Okay, yeah, downloads I will go. Okay, and I would like to share some folder. Let me go here, go here, go here somewhere. Okay, so this is some XM, some my softwares are there, something. I would like to just share it. Properties. Okay, just go here. Okay, and just sharing is there. Okay, and share it with whom you want to share, like the other person who is like within my. Okay, so I'll go here and try to share it. Like say for example, I would like to share this information with say for example, one of my colleague. Okay, I know his ID. Okay, I will give here, say for example, his name. I am just giving it as Leno or something like that. That name is not there, but in office definitely it will go and check that particular person name and show you, oh, is this the ID. Then you'll click yes, and then you'll click share. That's it. Okay, then it will this folder will be like if they are able to like go to this particular my computer name, like you might be seeing my IP address or my username. After that, so and so folder, if I share with them, they can, or they can directly go to their network places, my computer. Okay, network. Okay, my shared computers, it will be there, right? Just click on them. Okay, like this, and what are the folders which are there shared for me, I will be able to see that. Okay, how this is possible. And sometimes what this kind of communication is happening from one Windows machine to another Windows machine. Okay, from one system to another system, or you might be giving some information. Say for example, let me close this, I don't want. Okay, so apart from that, you'll be giving some print commands. How you will do? Okay, see, this is your Windows machine. Some you'll go here, you'll click on print. Okay, and you'll give print. Okay, you select the appropriate printer, whichever it is there, and then you click print. Okay, so how come that is possible? It is there is some kind of the mechanism in between the system and the other system which is listening to it. There is some protocol established in between them, the communication using that protocol. Okay, that is actually driving this file sharing or printing, all these things. So you have to remember that SMB and NetBIOS is used in Windows for such kind of purpose. Okay, SMB is the latest protocol which is used for uh, like file sharing access, or the printing access and all. I would like to share some shed some information. Okay, like SMB attacks, if you give, you get lot of server message block. What is meant by SMB means are, like, SMB also you can call it as, which is the Windows related protocol only. This won't come in Linux or any other system. Okay, because Windows networking, using like most of the computers in the organization, the end users will use Windows only, right? So that is the reason. Okay, so yes, there are so many attacks out there, but in that ransomware attack, okay, this, okay, it is uses 445. What is 445? Let us see. Port 45. Port 45 is SMB. Got it right? It uses SMB service. So you have to remember one particular part here. When attackers tries to propagate means from one system to another systems, if they want to like move their tentacles, okay, that time they what they do, they'll use SMB as the main protocol. Okay, whether this guy has got any file shared with someone, let me, if there are some shared folders within the system, I'll go to that and I'll reside there. Then I'll means like that virus or malware or anything. If that person who is like shared with this guy, right? If he opens that particular file and if he clicks that particular thing, and that system will also get infected, and it does the same thing if he has shared any folders with others, the other machines will also get infected. Usually one location, definitely all machines will get connected. What is that? In organization, all the machines are connected to one specific part where this thing comes into the picture.
Domain controller.
No, 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 no. It is for printing, sharing, print share. It will be there by default. Domain controller and all, it is like access level. You are sending the request, correct, right? It is not. It is a configuration, but it is not like, yes, the file sharing mechanism or anything, right? By default, you will be able to send the file directly to the print, correct, right? Am I correct or
Yeah.
not? Okay. Same way to the other machines also, like when they are like enabled print share. What is the difference in between SMB and NetBIOS? Is also the same thing, but NetBIOS is the older versions. Okay, older versions. So if you see difference in between SMB and NetBIOS, you don't go through anything. Just remember that SMB, okay, older transport layer that allows Windows computers to talk each other over the same network. Got it right? This is the latest, and yes, NetBIOS is the oldest. But might be there is a chance that some systems, some companies which are using the older versions. Okay, so you can take this example. Okay, see, okay, I hope you are able to see this port 139. Okay, which is like after Windows 2000, that is like after Windows 2000, that is Millennium, people started using the 445. Previous to that, like Windows XP and Windows 95 or any other networking, Windows NT, all those things. Earlier they used to use port 139, not only 139. Okay, NetBIOS ports is a range of ports. NetBIOS, they have given list of ports. Within that range you can have any number of, uh, what is where it is, yeah, one. Okay, I don't think here anywhere they have displayed. It is from 135 to 139. You can use any port number within this, like our different services, like printer one number, file sharing one number, like that also you can use. But all those things apart, but if you see any port number 135 or 139, if they are using, okay, in your organization, usually you have some kind of deprecated servers are should be deprecated servers are there which haven't done So you should get in touch with your management and all such things you have to do. So usually what port number 445, that is SMB port, should be used. That is SMB port should be used for all your file transfers and everything. Correct, right? File sharings and everything. So which is the latest, SMB or NetBIOS?
SMB.
SMB is the one. Okay. And if they ask you why we should not use NetBIOS, you should answer them saying that, hey, that is the deprecated version. If I find any such the ports in my organization, I don't let like 135 to 139. If any port communication is happening, I'll immediately identify those systems and let the management know, because some companies are like having thousands and lakhs of systems. Okay, to be frank, some companies will have thousands of systems, sometimes lakhs also, means including the endpoints and everything, servers, everything. Okay, if any system is communicating at port 135, that is like you are bearing the risk, because a lot of vulnerabilities are there. So that is the reason they moved to 445. Even on 445 also, it's a base protocol service for file sharing and all. That has also like, you cannot do anything because it is a service. Service is like, file transfer is a service. Same way SMB is a service. Using that service, file transfer, people can actually send for malicious files to the other machines. The same way SMB also they will use. You cannot do anything over it. But Windows should be in a position to detect such kind of things and stop it at the beginning itself. So that's why they will give patches and all. But altogether they cannot remove SMB protocol itself, because which is very much useful for everyone. Okay, for sharing the files and printing and all these things. Got it right? Okay, so that is about the SMB protocol, which you should learn. Okay, you should be aware of it. But I would like to give you some important things here. Okay, if here you'll give username and passwords in FTP, right? They go as plain text. Okay, for establishing the connections here. Okay, here 21 FTP. Okay, they go as plain text like your telnet. But to make sure that communication in a like more secured way, you use something called as TFTP, means like secured way. That is like it also uses port 22 only. If someone asks you, I have FTP on port 22, means just you have to tell, okay, secure based, sorry, not this one here. Okay, I want to securely establish the FTP connection, which port I have to use. You have to just tell that use port 22. That is SFTP. You can name it as SFTP. Both SSH uses same port and SFTP uses the same port. Okay, I'm just not including here. Okay, and now we are coming to our important thing, which is logs related also. Okay, guys, in real world, what happens is in our offices, okay, where you're going to work, this is there will be a server. Okay, I'm not talking about the SIM or anything here. I'm just giving you some information. Just remember that we will be having 90% of these machines will be servers. Okay, 90% in any organization are servers. So 90% of the servers are Linux machines. Okay, 90%. Okay, here so many servers are. Okay, now you tell me. Okay, I have some work, like I just want to monitor. Okay, to what's happening on each and every machine. Okay, what's happening on each and every machine. Is it good for me to get the information each and every machine? This one is good, or let's everyone keep sending their information to one system and I'll be getting that information from one system only. Which one is the more efficient way? I think this one is the more efficient way. Correct, right? To monitor what's happening in the systems. I'm not talking about the SIM, just to monitor what is happening, some mechanism which I've kept. Okay, so that that particular part. Okay, so it can be a SIM, or it can be a any some other kind of softwares. Okay, which it would like to go and interact what's happening with the systems. So these are Linux machines. All these Linux machines, what they are doing is they are collecting whatever the actions that are getting performed on this machine. I'm talking about the operating system level. Okay, those logs are getting saved in some folder called as syslog. Syslog. Okay, okay, these logs are called as syslogs. Okay, these logs are called as syslogs. System logs, syslogs. Linux, I mean, like all the logs in which format, if they ask you, you have to answer them that, okay, it is a syslog. Okay, now this syslog, okay, is sending the logs, okay, for like as a backup of these systems. All the logs should be backed up to one location, backup server, some backup server. Okay, this machine, this logs, this machines, machine 1, machine 2 logs, machine 3 logs, machine 4 logs, like that it will be there. Okay, this backup server which is keeping all the logs of all the Linux machines is called as syslog server. Every organization will have this. Remember that. Every organization will have a syslog server, that all the logs, if someone wants to see them, please contact syslog only. Because if 1,000 people are communicating, if I want to monitor something on this server, if I want to know some information on this server, information, some logs I want, what it has done, all such kind of 1,000 employees if they want to reach. So what if on a single machine, if this machine has got some problem, someone wants to get into and see entire organization, 1,000 people are trying to connect to this machine, this will degrade the performance of the machine. Okay, to avoid such things, what if we will put all that information on the syslog server? Okay, and that syslog server, if someone wants to send the data, they will some data, some logs, if they want to view, they can actually connect to the syslog. And this syslog, you have to connect at port 514. It is listening at port 514. All of them are sending at 514. Okay, this, like, you can access it at 514 or any other port your company has mentioned, but this server receiving the logs at the destination is receiving the logs at 514. Okay, 514 port. Important thing in interview, 100%. Okay, these logs are uses some, some ports, some protocol. Okay, is it UDP or TCP? Now, before we are going to that, I just thought of like bringing the same question here. Okay, how you will come to know that whether they will use TCP or UDP? File transfer, you tell me, is it okay for you when I'm sending some file, some data, if it is lost, is it okay for you?
No.
No. So should I use TCP or UDP?
TCP, I think.
Very good. Okay. Telnet, if I am entering the username and password, should I use TCP? I mean, like if the data is lost, is it okay for me?
No.
No. So TCP only they will be using. SSH is also like TCP only. DNS is there. Okay. Should I use DNS TCP or UDP by any chance? Any idea?
UDP.
UDP.
Why we have to use UDP?
Like there will be a lot of information we'll be sending, and we just need the info of IP. It's not like continuous communication, anything like that.
Yes, I'll tell you. Okay.
UDP is fast.
Yeah, you did no, it is not fast or anything. The server is okay, not serving you alone or anything. Okay. If you consider like operator server, okay, DNS server, like your Airtel or anything, how many people might be requesting new connections, like new websites or anything? Millions per day, new websites. By this guy might be like this new DNS request might be millions per second. They might be coming. I'm just telling, thousands or lakhs of connections. So every time if someone sends TCP, what it has to maintain in the server, it has to maintain the table, whether I have sent a SYN request and I have received SYN. This guy has sent SYN request and I have sent SYNAC, and I am waiting for ACK from this guy. Like that, if 1,000 people sends a request at the same amount of time, 1,000 people I have to wait here in my connection table. So this creates a lot of burden on the DNS server. So I don't use for DNS, the connection requests. Okay. Or transport, I don't establish. Okay. I'll use UDP, connectionless. What I'll do, three times, same message. Okay. Even if one packet lost, another two packets will be there. 3 packets, I'll be sending it to the DNS server. That is DNS request messages, 3 copies will be sent. Okay, 3 copies will be received by the DNS. If any one copy, if it lost also, no problem, it will be respond. So it will just take the response and it will respond, take the request and gives a response. And there is no such thing like how TCP, like web servers and all, has to maintain the table of connections requests which they have received in a way that the attackers who are trying to do DDoS attacks, right? What they will do, they will send a SYN request to the server for establishing the connection, the TCP connection. Then the server will send SYNAC, means, hey, I got your request. Then this guy is maintaining in the table, okay, this IP, okay, I've sent SYNAC to him and I'm waiting for ACK. Like that, all the IPs, what are there and what are the connection status will be maintained in the TCP of the server, TCP connection table of the server. So what happens, this guy will never respond. It will be like for wait time, 30 seconds will be there. If a new request comes also, he won't be in a position to respond. So that issues will be there, right? To avoid such issues, okay, like DNS is very important. So, and it is not mandatory that whatever you're requesting web page, if it is there or not, from your system side, it is like you can resend it again the request, but not to like burden this DNS server, because it has to be served to lakhs and lakhs of people, right? So they will avoid the DNS here. That doesn't mean that they should not use the TCP. They can use TCP, like in offices, they will use TCP only. Okay. But it will be on what do you say, DNS 53 only, but might be on TCP. Okay, might be on TCP. But usually to the entire world, what you have to say it is UDP. Some offices they use TCP also. In my office they don't use TCP, they use UDP only. Okay, in my office. Okay, some people they use TCP, but it is unnecessarily putting, if you use TCP means burden to the server itself, DNS server. Okay, so it is that is the reason it uses UDP. So HTTP, TCP or UDP?
TCP.
TCP, because first of all, to get the web page, first of all, you both have to be like establish the connection. Any service, okay, whichever it uses TCP, it has to establish SYN, SYNAC, ACK. Then only it might be FTP service, or it is SSH service, or DNS service. This you have to remember. If I say TCP means first it has to establish, then the protocol comes into the picture. That sends, this is my username, this is my password, all these things, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So HTTP, TCP, correct, right? HTTPS also TCP. Okay. SMTP, TCP. POP, TCP, IMAP, TCP. Okay. Here UDP you have observed. Okay. What other protocols you might be seeing? Okay. Usually audio, video, real-time streaming, audio call or video call, real-time streaming, such information, real-time streaming. They use what? They use UDP protocol. This might be some application, and this has to connect with some server for sending or receiving the audio. This server might be using some UDP protocol, definitely 100%. Where they are not least bothered about, they are least bothered about the connection establishments. Okay, in such cases they will use UDP, where I'll be sending all the data whether you want to receive it or not, like that. Sending and receiving, sending and receiving. No TCP or anything established. Okay, here guaranteeing of data is required. I am just every time after the connection gets established, right? Every packet sent and received will have, the acknowledgements. Every packet sent after the connection establishment, every packet sent and received will have acknowledgement. Hey, I sent one packet. Did you receive? Yeah, I'll send an acknowledgement. He will send some. I will send packet to him. He will send acknowledgement back to me, like that. Okay. So that is the difference. Okay. So our real-time streamings and all, we'll use UDP. And if they ask you why we use DNS, this thing means, see, this is like you have to establish the TCP connection. Once if you establish the connection, attackers might take it as an advantage by sending SYNACs, ACKs, okay, only SYN messages to the system, by not responding for the SYNACs which server has sent. So it will be a problem for us. Okay, so I don't want to be in that position. That's why UDP, whatever the request comes, if I am able to in a position to serve it, immediately serve it, else I will, like, I'll drop it. Okay, got it right. Okay, let's move back. This is what I want to give. Where we have yeah, so this syslog is also, tell me, okay, this copy is here, okay, and this data is sending it to here. Okay, now the syslog should use UDP or TCP. Tell me, guys.
UDP.
Why? Okay.
Because multiple servers need to send to syslog. So
Okay. Yes. Okay. So if it has to keep, it is just logs only. These logs are in real time getting generated on each and every machine. Okay, correct, right? And they are pushed to this syslog servers into their respective folders. What if it has to respond to them every time? Okay, hey, I have received it, I have received it, I have received your log, I have received your log. Then it is a problem. Okay, unnecessarily your performance is getting reduced. Instead of that, okay, you have to, you know that you are losing some data. Okay, if in case if there is any congestion or anything, so that like if there is any link down, so after some time again it will, if it is active, then again it will start sending that data back to the system. Okay, so that way the system will be able to get the logs, and not to have any kind of acknowledgement for every data it has sent, which actually creates congestion. We'll use UDP. So if interviewer asks, syslog uses UDP or syslogs on which port it will work, you should directly say 514 UDP port, like that. That's it. Further questions you don't ask. Why UDP means you can tell that like syslog, it's like a continuous process, like multiple systems has to send the logs to the to the syslog server. So it is not required, or it will be a burden for send an acknowledgement to each and every systems. So this risk which the companies have to take to store their logs onto that syslog server. It is just like Linux server only, but they will configure that, okay, this log is sending it to this machine at this folder. That's it. This log is sending this machine to this particular folder, like that only. Syslog client will be there, that it will be sending the logs to the syslog server. Okay, client means it's kind of some, the commands or algorithm, commands or application itself. Okay, so this much is enough for this syslog related aspects. Okay, if you want, you can send, like using TCP also. If you have very good configuration machines or anything, that is 6514 is the port number. 6514 is the port number for TCP. If it is UDP, 514, TCP 6514. That's it. Don't think too much about this thing. Okay, and if any remote desktop connections, if you have to establish, okay, we'll go here. Okay, here. Now you tell me what is the RDP, guys? RDP, remote desktop, correct, right? We'll go here, remote desktop connection. Okay, I will enter the system host name, like how we have AWS, we use SSH, for communicating. For connecting to Windows machine, we should use RDP. Okay, remote desktop protocol. Okay, so here you have to enter the IP address, or the same way like how we have, same way how I have shown you some kind of domain based name you can give, and click connect. It will ask for you to enter the username and password. Then you enter, then it will take you to like this Windows machine remotely. Okay, remote machine, Windows machine, you will be able to see this particular machine. Okay, is like remote desktop is a connection which you are making to the remote system on some specific port. Okay, this is a service on which port this is working on. That is the RDP port is 3389. Important. They will ask you this port. Okay, why they will ask? Because if there are any remote connections happening from externally to into your organization, you have to monitor them. Okay, from internally, if they are trying to ask, I mean, like if they are trying to reach outside, you have to monitor those port numbers at any cost. Okay, you have to see what are all port numbers should not be allowed. If are you seeing it in your this thing? Okay, like write a query in a way that except these ports, if any other ports, if it is the communication is going, then if the connection is successful, then I mean if the connection in firewall is allow, okay, then list me that and show me that. Okay, like that you will be writing. So RDP is usually in offices, what happens is within the organization it is allowed. Internal to internal it is allowed RDP, but internal to external or external to internal RDP is not allowed. External means from my home connecting remotely to that particular machine should not be allowed. That means someone is like, this is a very danger. But if you have some cloud instances like how I have, if it is Windows machine, yes, it can be allowed. But in office, if you are sitting and then if you are launching the remote desktop and you are some some Amazon cloud, some Windows machine is there, not belongs to your office, but you are entering means something suspicious you are doing, correct, right? By sitting in the office. So that thing should be blocked. Okay, or that should be monitored and notified to you, so that you can actually go and investigate that incident, why you are connecting to the remote desktop. It is not, the IP which is in our whitelist also. So you are connecting to that remote desktop machine. If you are connecting means what is the reason? All these questions you have to ask him. Okay, so they will take action against him if he is doing some kind of unwanted things. Okay, so this uses whether TCP or UDP. Just imagine data loss is
TCP, I
accepted
think.
here.
TCP.
No.
Yeah, correct. It is, they use TCP only. Got it right. Okay, they use TCP. Okay, and one more protocol will be there in your organization. Okay, you're seeing what is that? You are entering the usernames, passwords, everything is there, right? Correct, right? Like if network connection is gone, even though if you are entering the correct username and password in the office, they won't let you to connect to that machine itself. If the network connectivity on your CPU, if it is disconnected, okay, even though if you are entering the username and password correctly, it won't allow you to log into the system. Why that is happening? Why that is happening? No one. Yeah, tell me. Yeah.
You are not in domain, I mean office domain or
No. Okay. You are within the office only, but network connection is not there. Correct, right? Correct, right?
maybe it need to authenticate for login as well.
Yes. Every time it has to, like, once you are trying to log in, it has to go and connect with AD server, okay, or LDAP server, okay, to check whether you are the correct username. LDAP means like, there is some components, like you are connecting to Wi-Fi router in your office. You are entering your username and password, which your office has given, like single sign-on, like same username and passwords you have to give here. Okay, so check whether you are having the right credentials of username and password. It uses LDAP protocol. LDAP. What is meant by LDAP? Let us see. For authentication only, but just check. Okay. Lightweight directory access protocol. Correct, right? Let us see here. Okay. Let's keep it here. Okay. Is an open vendor neutral. Vendor neutral means this LDAP is not only the Windows machine, even for Linux machines or any other machines, they can use this protocol. Okay. For what purpose? It is industry for accessing and maintaining distributed directory information service over an internet protocol. Example. Okay. Now you have, I have Active Directory and you have Wi-Fi router where your employees can connect to it. They enter their usernames and passwords on that particular phones to connect to that Wi-Fi. Okay. And that, like whether that particular, you might have seen some cave, if you go, if you connect to Wi-Fi, it will pop up with some enter sign in username and password or something like that, right? Okay, so any hotspot or anything, some web pages will open. That kind of web page Office is also providing. In that, you enter the Office username and password and click enter. That time LDAP protocol takes this to either it is like Linux authentication server or Windows authentication server, that is, like Active Directory. Okay, to know that whether you are correct username or password and bringing again, letting you to connect to that particular Wi-Fi router or any other service. Okay, say for example, I have a firewall with me, and I should be able to communicate with the firewall using my Windows, I mean like my Office provided username and password to do any kind of changes. There should not be any different kinds of usernames and passwords should not be there. For one purpose, one user, one single sign-on. Single sign-on means same username and password for anywhere you can use. So this firewall is linked with the LDAP. So it will ask for you to enter username and password. Then that time you are entering your organization provided username and password, which is there in the Active Directory, created in Active Directory. Same thing you are giving here. And once after you giving, it will go and authenticate it from that particular Active Directory server. And if it is correct, so this authentication procedure from your machine to that AD server, whatever it is happened, it happened using the the LDAP. Okay, don't think that Active Directory and LDAP both are same. No, it is like like some locations where it requires for you to use the credentials, and which is this login credentials which you are giving is on a router, which is Linux machine. Okay, and it is asking like enter your username, enter your password. That is on router on a Linux machine you are giving. Okay, which is a firewall, which is a Linux based machine, Linux Debian. And the authentication where it is going is to a Windows Active Directory server. How it is possible that communication? Because they are using LDAP protocol to take your username and password from this machine, take it to the Active Directory, and from there checking whether you are the correct user or not, and bringing back to you and informing you that whether yes, you are the correct user. So all this is taken care by the LDAP. If you have ever like never heard about the LDAP, LDAP only does this much thing. Forget about anything beyond this, Okay, it is not required. And if people who doesn't know it, just remember this much. Okay, so LDAP is the one protocol which is used for for authenticating, for accessing, or for two different kind of over the IP based, you can have the authentication can be taken care. Okay, so that is the thing. Okay, and there is one such thing is also there. Okay, this is my the Wi-Fi, correct, right? So when I click on this particular Wi-Fi router in Office, it will ask me sometimes like, okay, enter your username and password. For what purpose? For the purpose of getting the IP itself, for this valid IP. Earlier it will be not connected. Now I want to connect it. It will ask me to enter the correct username and password. So the process of like getting the IP address is DHCP. The process of getting the IPS is DHCP, but for the authentication, it uses LDAP. Remember, the process of getting IP address to any machine in Office, I'm talking about in Office, not at home. In Office, it uses, okay, DHCP. Here also DHCP only, okay, but authentication is like mostly happens like when you connect to the Wi-Fi in Office, right? That time you have to be like whether this guy is valid user or not, it should ask. Okay, that time the IP address you'll be receiving it, but before to that, first you should be authenticated. That authentication is itself uses LDAP. Okay, so now I got one more thing. Yeah, what is okay, this LDAP protocol is uses TCP or UDP? From your side, guys?
TCP.
It should be TCP.
Yes,
Because
it should.
credentials.
Yeah, it is because it is like the credentials you are carrying. Okay. Okay. So nothing much here. Okay. Yeah. There is something simple thing I will explain here. That one thing alone we can cover a lot of things, so that I can yeah, just one small thing. Okay. DHCP. Okay. Okay. What is meant by DHCP? First, you should know that what is meant by DHCP. Okay. DHCP is a protocol which is used for, okay, for sharing, for assigning, for requesting an IP to your machine. First, remember that for requesting an IP to your machine, you require DHCP. Okay, got it? First thing, you know that. Have you heard about DHCP anytime? Okay, DHCP, Dynamic Host Control Protocol, is a a protocol or a service, I can say, which is used to assign IP addresses to all your machines in your organization. So don't think too much, okay, about this particular DHCP. First, what happens is, if first, yeah, let me show you here. Okay, right click. Holy shoot. This is a mistake which I do all the time. Yeah. Yeah. The properties. Yeah. Details, where it is. Details. Yeah. If you see here, okay, the IP assignment, okay, here it is happened. Okay, 107 is my IP address. Okay, if you go to the properties and go to the IPv4, how I am getting this IP address? Guys, am I audible? Hello.
Yes, Raghav.
Okay.
It's audible.
Yes, Raghav.
Oh, is it somewhere? Yeah, it is here. I guess that is the reason. Give me a second, guys. Give me close this. Close this. Let me close this as well. Let me close this as well. Okay. Give me a second. Go here, open network sharing. Okay. Properties. IPv4. Okay, this one. Obtain IP address automatically. That means internally you are telling that, okay, hey, please, perform the DHCP, Dynamic Host Control Protocol, to use for, getting me the IP address. Means what you'll do, what is my default gateway of my system here? Since I have not given anything, my default gateway is, this is 192.168.1.254, means my router IP address. So it will go to that my router IP and it will ask first, hey, please provide me some IP address. Then it will like offer you some kind of the IP address. So for example, as soon as when your computer it is like when it is automatically, if it is set, okay, first it will, when you power on, it will automatically send a discover message to all like systems, whichever the routers, your router, your neighbor router, hey, please send me the IP address, please send me the IP address, like that. Okay, then it will be like asking for you. After that, DHCP server receives that request, right? Okay, it suggests that, okay, you need some IP address. First, let's have some authentication. So that authentication process will begin. And if the authentication process begins, means then it will offer some IP address back to you. Okay, that offering means like, okay, so this is IP address, this is subnet mask, and this is the default gateway which you have to use, like that. Means like where it is, yeah, here. Okay, this is the IP address, this is subnet mask, and this is the default gateway. If for any other thing, DNS is this one for you and DHCP is this one, like that it will tell. Okay, and you will receive all that data now. Okay, now after the client receives this offer, it sends a request officially, hey, on this particular system, like to this to this gateway direct, it will send the request, hey, please, I want the IP address. Then it will be like providing you this IP address. Earlier this IP, it is not provided, now it will provide the IP address. Okay, and gives like some time bound, how long this IP address is available for you, like that. It will usually, it will be like, minimum at least I think 1 week or 20 days, I don't know, 30 days or something like that for home networks. Then after that, automatically it will be renewing. But usually I think it is forever nowadays. I think earlier it was like that, I guess. Now it is forever. Okay. So this IP, how you got is like simple 4 steps I will show you. Okay. First, as soon as when you power down the machine, okay, like you don't have internet at all, so it will go and check with some if it is wide router, it will directly go to this router. If it is Wi-Fi, so it will go to all your neighboring routers also. Okay, everyone it will be received. Hey, I want like that. Discover. Okay. So everyone will be having like password authentication things will be there, right? You will click on that. Okay, and you will get authenticated. Once after authentication happens, okay, first you send discover. Then after that authentication happened, then it will send you, okay, offer. In offer, it will send contains like this might be IP address for you, which I might give you, but it is not guaranteed. Okay. Then because before to that, you respond to them. If this IP address, if someone has taken, that cannot be like collected, right? Because if you are slow. Okay. So then IP address, subnet mask, default gateway, DNS and DHCP details will be sent to this client from the DHCP server. Okay, here in our case, DHCP server is router only at home. In offices, you will have some specific server itself. Okay, and for assigning IPs itself. Okay, and then you will, like, after receiving it, okay, then you will request officially. You send a request from your client to the server. Hey, at this particular request message, whatever you have sent, okay, instead of sending it to this request, first this discovery is sent to everyone, correct, right? Now this request is sent to only to the server because it has already responded to this machine, and I'm chosen this particular offer and I'm sending this to this machine because authentication or anything might be completed in between these systems. Okay, so then I'll directly communicate with this machine, and this will respond back to me with some acknowledgement. Hey, whatever the IP address I have told you that I'll be going to assign. Okay, I have assigned it to you now. Okay, now you can use that IP address. It is confirmed for you for so and so time. It will be forever considered. Okay, because if you turn off the machine, you lose that IP. That by default definitely will turn off the machines. But in offices and all, it is not the case. That's why unnecessarily, like, it will be like 99.99 uptime. What that means, like, your website www.google.com, until unless if they are removing some IP address for this domain, okay, it will be uptime only all the time. Okay, and the system is up and running. Okay, so discover, offer, request, acknowledgement. That's it. DHCP server. Okay, nothing else is required for you other than this. Okay, so some important things you might be required. Okay, so not here. Okay, let me tell here some things which I haven't. So yeah, so if you see here, now you got the clarity how we are going to frame some, web page. Instead of this web page, you can consider any kind of other services. Instead of HTTP request, you can consider this is a FTP request. Instead of here these headers, FTP headers will be there. Instead of this, SSH headers will be there. Instead of this, like some other SMB related, any protocol related headers will be there. So, but This source port, destination port, okay, the pairing will be like this, okay, source IP, destination IP, okay, and one important point, MAC address in real time we are least bothered. I never worked on Mac. That again and again I'm telling this. We forgot about. But one thing, always remember, source will be yours, and destination will be default gateway. Your next hop where you are connected, switch or router or your home router. That MAC address it will be there. After this message goes to there, again it will be changing that MAC address. Source it will keep its own MAC address, and destination it will keep where it has to send to the next, maybe ISP or maybe another one more router or something like that. Okay, so this is about the basics about some protocols which I thought to discuss it before we get in, so that you will be a little getting into the shoes of a SOC engineer, so that makes some. And apart from this, some other ports like SQL and MySQL is also there. Okay, Microsoft tool is Microsoft okay, Microsoft uses Microsoft SQL uses one port, that is 1433. Okay, this is MySQL. This is open source. This is not open source. This is Microsoft SQL. Okay, some people use this server, database server, and some people use MySQL, which is 3306. Okay, so these are the things. Okay, and all your network configurations or anything, they'll use send them using the SNMP protocol, that is 161, 162. Okay, like your update router updates, all these, okay, these things. And there is something called as, you have office time will be there, right? Office time, your office time will be like synced, correct, right? It has to be synced. So that particular syncing will happen, okay, because of one protocol called as NTP. Yeah, NTP, that is 123. Okay, so SNMP for your network configurations, like your routers, okay, or your switches, they will get latest configurations or any routing table updates, all those things. This is not required for us. Okay, but NTP is also not required, because what you will do with that? Nothing. Okay, and that is 123 NTP. But yeah, you might be like seeing queries getting communicated to the external world, or from externally someone is trying to connect to the MS SQL or something like that. These are 143, and if it is your company is having or your company is having SQL, okay, that is Microsoft is 1443. But if you are trying to see 3306 in your organization incoming, or within the organization, one location to another location, that there might be an attacker who doesn't know what is the database you're trying to use, but he has got some credentials and is trying to connect to some, the MySQL server. He might be thinking it is your server is MySQL. So if someone is doing such things, you can detect them, like using like this, like the username and passwords wherever they are trying to get connect or something like that. Okay, these are the things which you have to remember. Okay, today I'll upload, because these are important concepts which you have to finish it by today, so that for tomorrow, okay, class security, all those things we are going to start. Okay, all networking and all these things we have finished. HTTP related, all other stuff, okay, will be like covering in the logs as well. Okay, so nothing to worry. Okay, fine. Let's wind up for today.